If you've been on Reddit as long as I am and have browsed subreddits like light novel translations or anything that has to do with light novels, then you've probably come across a light novel named Reverend Insanity. And the posts about Reverend Insanity have become so meta. We've gone to the point of people making literal memes about people making memes about people arguing about Reverend Insanity. And it's just, I think, it's like so overdone to the point I don't think it's necessary. And I guess I'm kind of making this video in order to kind of appease both sides, or at least like give it my honest review after having read Reverend Insanity up to 2,250 chapters. Honestly, overall, I think the story is very good, but I think it's really just kind of overrated and kind of overhyped to an a degree that maybe the novel really isn't. Like, people are, instead of just like saying, hey, yo, you should read this novel, it's pretty good, people go to the point where they just like write all of this down and say, yeah, man, before I was reading this novel, I was only able to do like 10 reps at the gym. I had nobody. I was on the verge of suicide. I didn't have anything. And after reading this novel, I literally have everything that I wanted. I do 100 reps of it, every exercise ever. I'm in a loving and caring relationship with someone who cares about me and gives me attention and emotional support when I need it. Like, just say that the novel is good. That would be enough, you know? But people go on to unimaginable heights to hype it up, which I think is detrimental, because you get posts like this where people are kind of disappointed by what they get from the novel because it wasn't as good as some people may have hyped it up to be. And in my own honest opinion, I would probably give Reverend Insanity an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm really on the verge of either giving it an 8 or a 10 because, I mean, not a 10, but either an 8 or a 9 because, well, for one, I don't think Reverend Insanity needs to be as long as it is currently. I don't think it needs to be over 2,000 chapters. I feel like some parts could be like, or like just the whole story could be more condensed into fewer chapters, and it would probably still have the same emotional impact and or still be as good of a quality, if not better, as it is right now. And the main thing that's kind of like making me vexed about what rating I should give it is kind of the zombie arc, because I kind of feel like it dragged on for way too long, but like the payoff of it was just like one of those moments in like reading where I'm just like reading it, I'm just like, whoa. And I have to like stop reading for a while and kind of think about like all the setup and everything that's gone into that particular moment. But like at the same time, I'm awed by like what just happened. It's like where I'm to the point of giving it a 9. I'm also kind of like, a side of me is kind of also saying like, I mean, like, is it really as good as you think it is? Because like you've had pretty much like hundreds of chapters of kind of like not really that much stuff happening, and to the point where anything else than like what's going on right now would have probably been better, or like would have probably made you like have the same emotional impact. So like that's what's really making me kind of wane between an 8 and a 9. But like, undeniably, I have to say that I really enjoyed the series, because or I wouldn't be reading it to the point where I have. And I said for one, but that's pretty much my whole my whole idea. And with my main gripes and or critiques about the story done, some of the things that I really like about the series is, for one, well, its power system, its cultivation system. The best way and or simplest way I can kind of describe it is that there's goo worms in this world. They're kind of like insects, bugs, worms, or whatever, that you can find them in nature and or refine them, and they give their users special abilities. And the best way I can describe them is like, if you've seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, they're kind of like stands combined with Pokemon, and they give their users special abilities. You can have multiple of them, but the drawback would be that you have to keep them all alive. You have to feed them, because a dead goo worm is as useless as having no goo worms. And there's a lot more to it. but that's just the simplest way I can put it. I also really enjoyed the world building of this novel. It's so in depth to the point where some people complain that there's way too much world building and that a lot of it could probably be skimmed over without having, I guess, kind of any any impact to the story. But I kind of like how much world building there is because I feel like it kind of makes the story more believable and come to life more. I also really like the main character. The way I discovered this novel is by like because I was just really done and kind of bored with main characters that were just goody two shoes that just wanted to do everything by the book, and I just kind of wanted to read a book where the main character was kind of more questionable whether or not he was a good guy and or a bad guy. And this novel pretty much gave me everything that I wanted, and a majority of the book I probably would have probably dropped this novel if it were not for the main character. He's like one of the main things I really liked about the novel. And the last thing is, I don't think I can applaud this novel enough for how unique it is for having this alone. The story of Renzu, which is a story inside of the story of Reverend Insanity, and it's kind of like the Bible of the Reverend Insanity universe. And the best way I can kind of describe what the story of Renzu is pretty much what Buddha read to become enlightened. With my main review of Reverend Insanity done, I guess I kind of want to talk about this post a little bit because the post was pretty much what like one of the many factors that kind of led up to me, I guess, making this video. Like I guess we can kind of all agree that OP didn't really have really that good of an experience reading Reverend Insanity, and I mean, I honestly don't think that he or she would have had as negative of an experience if it were not for, I guess, the Reverend Insanity community being as outspoken as it is currently. Because, I mean, like, look, I get that we want to, like, I guess, share something good with other people, but if we constantly, like, shove the Reverend Insanity in front of people, like either one, they're gonna get really annoyed and never touch this story, or two, they're gonna read it and kind of want to disprove like us and say, like, you think this story is that good? Well, I'll show you, like, you know. And I feel like this is what pretty much what OP kind of did. And I'm not saying this to like disprove or discredit what he's saying, but like, I'm just kind of like saying it how I see it, because I've honestly been there before with fandoms kind of ruining stories. For example, personally for me, it was Legendary Moonlight Sculptor, because people were just constantly flaming one of my guilty pleasure favorite novels, Overgeared, constantly calling it like a Legendary Moonlight Sculptor ripoff. And reading it, I honestly had a good experience, but just the fandom flaming Overgeared constantly kind of ruined the experience for me, and I kind of feel like OP of this post had the same problem. And I'm not gonna like try to argue or anything with some of the points he made. I honestly think some of the points and or critiques he made are kind of like really nitpicky and didn't necessarily really need to be made. Something I did really find funny about one of his claims was that he didn't dislike Fang Yuan because he was evil, because it was just because of his personality and how he didn't value anything or relationships and stuff like that, so nothing in the story matters because he's kind of like a nihilist or something like that. And I mean, that point would have probably like made sense if Reverend Insanity was a dating or romance story where relationships and stuff matter. But Reverend Insanity doesn't really need to have like side characters or characters and stuff to, like, I guess, support the story. Reverend Insanity is good enough with Fang Yuan alone. And he also said that he didn't dislike Fang Yuan because he's evil. Like, he likes other evil characters like Ainzu Gang, which, I mean, I love Overlord, and I've read and watched everything about it. Like, I've read the manga, I've watched the anime, I've read the novels. Like, Reverend Insanity, like, Fang Yuan is not comparable to Ainzu Gang. Okay, I'm adding this as a quick, I guess, voiceover because I didn't know that my recording had cut off. But what I was saying was that Ainzu Gang and Fang Yuan, they're completely, like, they can't be compared in terms of their evilness, because Ainz, like, the worst thing he's done is, like, pretty much murder 70,000 over like 70,000 troops on the enemy side. And like, even though this is pretty bad, like this is not evil because like he can be defended. He's like pretty much doing the equivalent of what I think Theodore Roosevelt was doing in World War II, like nuking Japan. Like he's trying to defend his side so that he wouldn't lose any troops. Like his side wouldn't lose any troops, so that he wouldn't show any sign of weakness, while also pretty much just assuring victory for his side. And like Ainz constantly tries to keep a grip on his humanity, even though he's kind of lost it when he turned into a lich, an undying lich. Like Ainz isn't evil. He tries to be good, and if he were aware of a lot of the things that his underlings did, he would definitely put a stop to it. While on the other hand, Feng Yuan, he doesn't care a bit for torture, murder, mass genocide, everything he's done before, like with it not really benefiting anyone else but like only himself. Like in that point, like Feng Yuan and like Ainz, they're not comparable at all. I'm saying this about their personalities and or evilness. I'm not saying this about their which story is better. Like that's just an argument for another day. I don't want to really do any of that.